Like, why can't you
Actually, it was. Yeah, it was.
Is that the only difference? Because, like, I think, because these four paths don't touch these loops. It's like a separate thing. Yeah, there's like, part of like main form, if these four paths don't touch these loops, you have to multiply them by the loop equations that, like, don't touch it.
Break that guy up. Because you got those Z minus easy minus thing.
Like, how does that's what I'm asking.
Okay, good morning everyone. Are there any questions before I start? Okay, well, go ahead.
Is the MATLAB submission also delayed till Friday 4 p.m.?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, the whole homework is delayed. Yeah, go ahead.
Problem 3 in the homework, I was hoping we could go over that.
Sure. Okay, that's fine. Let's take a look at problem 3. Okay, so it says consider the following block diagram of a third order non-canonic discrete time system. So let me get to that, but first of all, what's the basic difference between a so-called signal flow graph? If you come across these words like signal flow graph, so essentially this is a signal flow graph representation. So in a signal flow graph, I probably mentioned before, if you think about a node like this, the input coming here, this is a fan out node, so this goes straight to the right and down, and this 2 is a multiplication by 2. So the let's take another node, for example, let's take a summing node like this. So this is so in terms of a block diagram, if I were to draw this as a block diagram, so I would say, okay, so we take this and then we have a multiply and then write 0.3 and then we take this, have a multiply, write 0.4 and then add these by plus. So that's called a block diagram. So instead of showing these multiplications like this, if we put these as coefficients marked on the edge, that's kind of what we represent the multiplication coefficient to be in a signal flow graph. Instead of explicitly describing the add node, so if a node has a lot of inputs coming in, that's essentially adding all of these. Similarly, if a node has many wires going out or signals going out, that's a fan out node. So the signal flow graph, so-called signal flow graph, is a way of describing digital filters. Another way to describe is what we show here. By the way, in signal flow graphs, the delay element is z to power minus 1 is essentially showing a delay element. So in a block diagram representation, this is kind of, okay, anyway, so this is kind of halfway block diagram, halfway signal flow graph, because we see the explicit add nodes and the delay elements. Sometimes if I write that as a d, that's same as z to power minus 1, but the multiplication coefficients are shown on the edge rather than explicit multipliers. So you should be able to make a sense of all of those things. Okay, so this says this is a third order non-canonic discrete time system. So the word non-canonic means canonic with respect to the number of state variables. Anytime we talk about canonic could be with respect to something. So in terms of control systems, when we talk about a canonic system, that typically means the number of states is the minimum. You cannot represent that filter or that structure or that system by any number of states that is less than canonic. So in this case, as you will notice, we have 5 delay elements, and if this is a third order discrete time system, then a canonic representation would require 3 delay elements or 3 state variables. So that's why this is non-canonic. So how do you, so the first part says compute the transfer function h of z. So how do you really compute? So a formal way, a more formal way, okay, there is a long way and there is a short way. The long way is to give a name to each state variable. So for example, if I call these state variables, let's say W1, W2, W3, W4, W5, and then we will write down the state update equations, and then we will try to eliminate all those states and finally get a transfer function in terms of y and x. So that's kind of the long way. So for example, I would write W1 n plus 1, so that's the next state. So think about W1 n to be the current state. Okay, that means what will be the input here is the next state W1 n plus 1. So that's the next state. So that means in the next clock cycle, that so what we are computing here at the input will be available at the output of the flip-flop. That's going to be W1 n plus 1. So I can say, so if I just want to write one equation, so we could say W1 n plus 1, and maybe I will give this as a homework problem to you for next week to write the state variable descriptions, because I do want you, although it's not in the book, I do want you to be familiar with describing digital filters by state space representations. So W1 n plus 1 is equal to xn, that's the input, plus 0.8 times whatever is coming here, and what is coming here is W3n. Okay, so that's the next state for W1. For W2, I can similarly write W2n plus 1 is equal to, so what is W2n plus 1? That's the result of this add operation. So the inputs to this adder is W1n plus this W3n. And you can do the same thing for others. And finally, yn, output yn is going to be yn is going to be the result of this add operation, which is W2n plus whatever is coming here, and that is that plus, and that inputs are minus W5n, and then is coming here, that is xn plus W4n. Okay, so I'm going to give this as a homework for next week. So by representing this as a state space, compute the transfer function in a number of ways. In fact, I might actually ask you to find the eigenvalues and verify those are the poles. So we'll spend some time on this. But let's talk about the short way. How can you do this very quickly? And that was the intent. Probably that was the intent for this homework. So any volunteers as to how to do this quickly without really spending a lot of time? I wonder if you have any thoughts. Anybody had? Yeah, go ahead.
You can represent them as two parallel transfer functions, basically.
There is certainly some way of thinking about that, but let me tell you what I see how to do this very quickly. And when you are doing things very quickly, you should make sure you are doing it right, because it's easy to make mistakes. Okay, so what I see here essentially what I see here is this top part is an FIR part and the bottom part is an IIR part. So that means all data flow on the top path are going from the input to the output without any feedback loops. However, when I see on the bottom path, if you look at there is signal here. Where are the loops? Let's see if I can find. Okay, I can see that there is a loop here. So if I start here, go through this path, come back, and then there is a inner loop here. So from here to here. So there are two loops here, and that's the feedback part. So what I would say, let's try to find the transfer function of the feedback part first. So let's not worry about the FIR part. So what I have here is Xn. If I try to redraw what we have, there is a delay here and an add and a delay. Delay or z to power minus 1 are all same, so don't worry about those things. And then there is another delay as part of that feedback loop. Okay, so this is really what we have in this IIR part. Let's call this one Vn. We will find out what Vn is. And this is Yn. So, okay, so we can see that well, I may not be able to take a quick path here. Maybe I have to solve this by the long method. Okay, let's go through the long method. So W1, W2, W3. So W1, I wrote those equations down. W1n plus 1 is equal to Xn plus 0.8 W3n. W2n plus 1 is equal to W1n plus W3n. Okay, and then W3n plus 1 is equal to 5 times W2n plus Vn. Okay. Yn is equal to W2n plus Vn. Okay, so now we have to eliminate W1, W2, W3. So those can be eliminated by so I can write W1 z times W1 z is equal to xz plus 0.8 W3z. Wz times W2z is equal to W1z plus W3z, and W3z times W3z is equal to 5W2z plus 5Vz. Okay, so so how can we eliminate if you find I am making mistakes, then one of your job is to make corrections before we proceed and make more mistakes. Okay, so let's try to substitute this. Well, let's try to use these two equations first. See if we can cancel out W3. It's now process of elimination. So W3z from this equation, W3z is ZW2z minus W1z, and if I multiply this by z, W3z is equal to z squared W2z minus ZW1z, then these two are equal. This is equal to that, and that's how I can eliminate W3. So 5W2z plus 5Vz is equal to z squared W2z minus ZW1z, and if I bring this side, so we have or take 5 this side, z squared minus 5 times W2z is 5Vz plus ZW1z. So now we have W2z expressed as 5Vz plus ZW1z by z squared minus 5. Okay, so now that W3 is eliminated, so let's see, we used this equation and this equation. So this has not been, what's left here? Did I use, so we have W1 here. Okay, it seems like I need to find W3. So it's not just enough. So okay, we'll take W3. So if I take this W3 is this quantity and substitute that here. So what is W3z? W3 is z times this quantity minus W1. So I can now express, so W3z is equal to z by z squared minus 5 times 5v plus ZW1, okay, minus W1. Okay, so that's W3. So now we have expressed W2 and W3 in terms of W1. So if I go to the first equation, I can now describe this in terms of, so substitute this one here, and then you will get a relation between X and W1, and finally the output Y is going to be W2. Okay, so then express W1 in terms of X. Well, then everything has to be expressed in terms of X, and then Y has to be expressed in terms of X and V. So, well, I'm not going to do more algebra, but you get the idea. So let me just say what is Vn. What I had indicated as, I didn't write down the whole thing here, but Vn, so if you come back to the quantity that we are adding here, Vn, and that's going to be, so these are all forward paths. So Vn is going to be, so the input x goes straight. So Vn is equal to xn, so that's this input x going straight. Okay, and then x delayed by 1 multiplied by 3 also goes to Vn. So plus 3 xn minus 1, and then x delayed by 2 multiplied by minus 1, that's a, and all these added are Vn. So that's what Vn is. That's the FIR part, that you have to plug that in there, and finally you will get, it is a little bit involved, and it's not trivial, but it does contain a good 15 minutes of algebra. Is that clearer now? I mean, I didn't work out, that's what you should do in your homework, but at least I showed you some of the steps that you need to take and eliminate. So we are still going through the process of describing by state variables. It's the same thought process. Think about each delay element as a state and express the state update equations. And finally, maybe in the next homework, we can represent this by a state representation xn plus 1. So in general, the state representation would be x n plus 1. Okay, let me just show you another way. So xn plus 1 is equal to a times xn plus b times un. Yn is equal to c transpose xn plus d un. So remember that we talked about if xn, so in this particular example, xn would be a 5 by 1 vector. Okay, so there are 5 state variables. So we can write the state update equation as a as this equation here. So xn plus 1, a will be 5 by 5, n by n matrix. So we have all those equations, describe them. B is a n by 1 vector. Un, I call them the input u. Input is shown as x, but this is input u. Output is a scalar, 1 by 1. This is 1 by n, and times n by 1 is a scalar. D is a scalar. D is 1 by 1, and so is input u. So if we describe this, any thoughts about what might be the transfer function h from state space representation? So if I simply call this zx equals ax plus b u, this is in a z transform. Take the z transform. I'm not writing this down, but these are okay. So then I can say z times the identity matrix minus a. So a is coming to the left side, and then z times the identity matrix, identity of n by n, minus a matrix of size n by n, times x is equal to b times uz. So that says x of z is equal to z times the identity matrix minus a inverse b times u of z, and then y, the output yz is equal to c transpose times xz, which is this quantity here, plus d times uz, and hz, which is yz by uz, is equal to c transpose times zi minus a inverse b plus t. So if you did express in terms of the state update equations, then I would not suggest that, because you have to do a 5 by 5 matrix inverse. Okay, so but anyway, these kinds of things are supposed to be done by a computer. So that's what the transfer function is. C transpose times z times the identity matrix minus a inverse times b plus t. So if we know A, B, C, D, then that's what. And if you are using MATLAB, surely you can do that by MATLAB or Mathematica or whatever else. Okay, so that's kind of how you could obtain the transfer function directly from the state space. And it would be easy to do this if it is a second order or third order filter. It's easy to take an inverse of a 2 by 2 or 3 by 3 matrix. Any other questions? Yeah.
How do you know that you have the minimum number of multipliers? Like on problem 4 on homework, they say implement these.
Okay, so that's actually okay. So the problem 4. So problem 4, this question was asking how to minimize. So in this case, we have okay, so the idea here is, so clearly if I write this is a 15th order or 16 tap FIR filter. So you can see that I can write yn is equal to, yn is equal to the input xn convolved with hn, which would be I equal to 0 to 15, half xn minus I. So, so you go through 15 delays. If I name these D1, D2 through D15 and multiply all of these by half, so you have half 15 multipliers, all multiplying by half. And the idea here was for you to recognize, to reduce the number of multiplications, I can take half outside a bracket. So I can actually add all these xn and then add all these and then multiply by half. So that will reduce the number of multiplications from 15 to 1. So that was the intent of that problem. And then the second part was a little more involved. I will come to you. Let me finish this. You were asking about this?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So, if this problem actually asks us how to, to reduce the number of delays, how would we approach it? Just wondering.
Okay, so that is another good question. So whenever you talk about canonic property, so in this case, the structure here using one multiplier is a multiplication canonic. Now, if you want to reduce the number of state variables, so if you look at what h of z is, so go to the z transform, so that's going to be half times 1 plus z to power minus 1 all the way up to z to power minus 15. And then the question is, how do you reduce the number of state variables? Well, I don't think you can. I mean, I think that's kind of. So one other thing you can do is write this as 1 minus z to power minus 16 by 1 minus z to power minus 1. So a typical thing we often do, and maybe I didn't talk about that so much, is an FIR filter, and that's what the cascaded integrator comb filter is trying to do. And I didn't talk a lot, but and those of you become more interested in so-called CIC, cascaded integrator comb filter, that I assigned you in a homework without going into a lot of significance about that, is essentially that's used in so-called sigma delta converters, or taking 1-bit representations and finding, taking high speed 1-bit signals and converting that to low speed high resolution signal. So do a Google search on that and go to Wikipedia page. But so a lot of times FIR filters can be represented as an IIR filter. So when you see this kind of block diagram, 1 minus z to power minus 1, so we have, so if I take this 1 minus, okay, let's see here. So that's essentially 1 over 1 minus z to power minus 1. So that's input xn, and then we have 1 minus z to power minus 16. Okay. Okay, so and then I can share this delay here. I can then this would be 15 delays. So I could tap out of here and take 15 delays. So this is not canonic with respect to number of state variables because as you can see here, this requires 16 state variables, whereas here I have 15 flip-flops or 15 states. So certainly in this example, this direct form FIR is the canonic with respect to number of states. However, I believe the part B might be, so in that part B problem we had Hn is equal to 0.5 to the power n un plus 1/3 to the power n un minus 1, and then they take the z transform, that's 1 over 1 minus a half z to power minus 1 plus 1 over 1. Okay, so there is okay, so the first thing I have to, because of that un minus 1, let's write this as 1/3 to the power un minus 1 times 1/3. That way together that makes 1/3 to the power n. So we have 1/3 times z to power minus 1 by 1 minus 1/3 z to power minus 1. Think about that. These two together, so if I had just 1/3 to the power n un, that would be 1 over 1 minus 1/3 z to power minus 1, n replaced by n minus 1 multiplies by z to power minus 1, and that 1/3 here. And then you can implement that by a parallel form, and then you will, well, I can see that you would require fewer multipliers. I am not quite sure, but it is possible that although these look like two different multipliers, it may be that you can reduce that to only one multiplier by picking the correct direct form 1 or direct form 2. So think about that. So that's so any other questions? Yes.
This is unrelated to the homework. Is
Yeah.
the exam still next week on Thursday?
Okay, the exam was supposed to be next week Thursday, but as I had indicated, I will be out of town subsequent class, which would be Tuesday, the 14th. So exam 2, so I postponed the exam by one class, so you do not have to listen to my tape lecture, rather take the exam that day. So exam 2 is not next week Thursday is not. Instead, is on November 14th, Tuesday. And this is already corrected on the syllabus on the Moodle site. So if you see the exam date on November 14th, that is the correct date. Okay. So essentially, the homework that I'm going to post today or tomorrow, homework 8, the second midterm exam will only cover homework 5, 6, 7, and 8. And the last midterm exam will only cover homework 9, 10, and 11. So, so we don't have any final exam. Only we are covering content within the midterms. Any other questions about what we have been studying? Okay, if not, so let me start with what I wanted to. So we'll talk more. Next homework will be more about these kinds of things, filter structures. So first of all, why are we interested in studying many different types of filter structures? It so happened that in 60s and 70s when we didn't have, well, okay, if you are using MATLAB or double precision, there is no difference between these structures. But the moment you put them into VLSI chips, where the multiplication word length can be small or can be large, so-called fixed point, and fixed point means it's not floating point. Okay, so if you are implementing digital filters in hardware in fixed point, although the transfer function is same, different structures will have different round-off noise. And in fact, when the Texas Instruments came out with the first programmable digital signal processors, TMS, well, I should say, I should say first highly commercially successful programmable digital signal processors. The DSP, the concept of programmable DSP was not invented at TI, but rather was invented at Bell Labs. Bell Labs came out with the so-called DSP-1. DSP-1 was the first programmable DSP. Simultaneously, at about same time, the NEC corporation in Japan had also come up with their DSP. So, in fact, the first DSP was developed at same time by Bell Labs and NEC. But like a lot of things, you know, some of you may not remember, but a lot of those, almost everything was invented at Bell Labs. But Bell Labs was not great at marketing all the products. So one of the early things about speech processing was those toys that talk, and maybe you had become, maybe people born before you, maybe, I don't know. So those toys that talk, talking toys, that was highly successful by TI, but really developed at Bell Labs. So a lot of things developed at Bell Labs were huge commercial success elsewhere. Okay. Okay, so I was going to say, when TI came out with the TMS320C10, and they tried to program these long digital filters like 128 tap echo cancelers, the output was all garbage because they did not consider scaling and round-off noise properties. They just programmed direct form FIR filter and they fed the inputs. The TI TMS320C10, I believe, had a 16 by 16 multiplier data path, and the output was all garbage because they were not scaling properly. You have to make sure that both the intermediate outputs are scaled in a way that there is not a lot of overflow. And think about this. If we are representing numbers that are bounded between -1 and 1, and you add 2 of those, the dynamic range becomes -2 to 2. And if you don't scale that down by factor of 2 and keep doing that, then you are computing garbage. So scaling and round-off noise are important things to consider, especially when you are either programming in fixed point programmable processors or implementing things in fixed point hardware, VLSI hardware. So, so all the structures, direct form 1, direct form 2, transpose forms, they are all equivalent with respect to the transfer function, either in double precision or in floating point, but they are not equivalent with respect to round of noise. And one other structure that maintains some good round of noise properties is the so-called lattice digital filter. So we'll spend a little time talking about lattice digital filters. And the notations I am using are slightly different, and I posted my own notes on the lecture on the Moodle site, but the ideas are not including the notations. The results are all the same. Okay. So first of all, what do the lattice filters look like? Well, it so happens, let me tell you why the lattice filters became of interest. So it so happens that the lattice digital filters have the structure, basic structure like this. The input xn goes through, if there are 100 tap filter, it's 100th, let's say 99th order and 100, let's say 100th order filter, then we will have 100 such stages. So these k coefficients that form the basic part of this structure here are going to be always between -1 and 1. So even if the direct form filter coefficients are 30, 50, whatever, these coefficients will be bounded between -1 to 1 if all zeros are within the unit circle. Okay, so so that's kind of what the lattice filter looks like, and as you will notice, it requires 2 times the number of multiplications. If I had a 100th order filter, I would need 101 multiplications in direct form structure. Here we will have 100 stages like this. Each stage has 2 multipliers, so it requires 200 multipliers. So the lattice filters do incur about twice overhead with respect to the number of multiplications, but nevertheless they have some desirable properties with respect to scaling and round of noise. So let me go through the lattice digital filter. So basically so we are going to define some polynomial in Z, let's call it AZ, which is A0 plus A1 z to power minus 1 plus A2 z to power minus 2 up to an z to power minus n. Okay, so that's kind of a polynomial in z to power minus 1. Now we define, I can call that a nz to indicate that it's of degree n. Okay, so this is a polynomial in z to power minus 1 of degree n. And we define a reverse polynomial. So given an, I can define a reverse polynomial where the coefficients are reversed. So for example, this would be an plus an minus 1 z to power minus 1 plus an minus 2 z to power minus 2 and a0 z to power minus n. And in a formal manner, I can say that Bn is equal to, we can say that is an star, star meaning reverse, means the coefficients have been reversed. And in a formal manner, we can write that as z to power minus n times an 1 over z. So the way we get this polynomial, start with a n. So for example, a n 1 over z will be a0 plus a1z plus a2z squared plus a n z to power n, and then multiply that by z to power minus n will be a0 z to power minus n plus a1 z to power minus n minus 1 plus a n, and that's exactly what we wrote down as bn. So we start with a polynomial. So if we are implementing an AFIR filter, this is our h of z, nth degree polynomial. If we are implementing an IIR filter, this will be our denominator of degree n. So given a polynomial of degree n, I can then describe a reverse polynomial where the coefficients are reversed. And in a formal manner, the reverse polynomial Bn is defined as z to power minus n, an 1 over z. But don't worry about this. I mean, I think it is sufficient to just say reverse the coefficients, then it's easy to write them down quickly. So let's see some examples of reverse polynomials. So for example, if I have a degree 3 polynomial, example 1, if I have a3z is equal to 5 plus z to power minus 1 plus 6z to power minus 2, b3, so these coefficients were 5, 1, 6. You reverse them, they become, start with right hand side 6, 1, 5. So this becomes 6 plus z to power minus 1 plus 5 z to power minus 2. And in a more involved example, if I take a 4z, say fourth degree polynomial, as 5 plus z to power minus 1, so this should be written as a 2, second degree polynomial, plus 6z to power minus 4. So if I write this as like that, now b4, the reverse polynomial, will not, b4 is not 6 plus z to power minus 1 plus 5 z to power minus 4, is not. Okay, why is that? Well, the coefficients here are 5, 1, coefficient of z to power minus 2 is 0, coefficient of z to power minus 3 is 0, coefficient of z to power minus 4 is 6. Then you reverse these coefficients, then we get 6, 0, 0, 1, 5. So b4 is going to be 6 plus 0 z to power minus 1 plus 0 z to power minus 2 plus 1 z to power minus 3 plus 5 z to power minus 4. So if some coefficients are missing, be careful, because you will be, you may be led to believe that b4 is simply reverse these coefficients, then it will be 6 plus z to power minus 1 plus 5 z to power minus 4. Instead it's 6 plus z to power minus 3 plus 5 z to power minus 4. Okay. So the coefficients are reversed, but if some of them are missing, we have to be careful not to throw them out. Okay, so that's so we define a polynomial and its reverse polynomial. Okay. So then the basic structure that I showed from the book has structure like this. So we start with a I minus 1 and b minus I minus 1. So so this is the output of stage I minus 1. I'm just drawing one stage called stage I. And then we compute AI and BI, where these coefficients are minus Ki and minus Ki. So that's really the basic lattice stage. So each lattice stage, if you look what is going on, so we are taking the previous stage output, bottom path delayed, and multiply by minus K and add. Keep doing that, as many stages. If it is 100th stage, then we have 100 of these stages. Okay, so if we are given a lattice stage, so we can then say that by the way, bi minus 1 is the reverse polynomial of ai minus 1. Bi is the reverse polynomial of ai. So ai can be written as I minus 1, that's this quantity here, minus ki z to power minus 1 bi minus 1. And all of these are written in z transform domain. I should be writing aiz equal to so on, but I am not, well, let me just write once. Okay. Then the bi is going to be z to power minus 1 bi minus 1 minus ki ai minus 1. So that's really all there is. So given these, so the way this lattice stages work is, given a transfer function, all we have to really do is get these k coefficients. If we can get these k coefficients, then we are done. So we'll talk about how to get the k coefficients. But in the beginning, we have, so if you look at how the process begins, so think about, in the beginning we start with A0 equal to B0 equal to 1. These are 1. And then we keep building these transfer functions. Okay, so initially A0 equal to B0 equal to 1. And then we draw exactly the same thing here with parameter K1. So inside this block marked K1, we have all of these, the bottom path delayed, and 2 multipliers by minus K1, and then summed, we get A1, B1. So these become A1, B1. And then we go through exactly same thing, one more block, K2. And then finally this become A2, B2. And keep going through that, and at the end we have Kn, and that becomes An. Remember that I had initially mentioned that the transfer function of the FIR filter is An. So if you think about what is the transfer function, what is Hz, which is the output transfer function divided by the input, Yz, if I call this Yn, if I call this Xn, so Yz by Xz is going to be An by 1, which is An. So so all I have to do is find out for a given transfer function Hz how to compute these k's, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But if I can find these k coefficients, then we are done. We are done with the lattice filter of the FIR filter. So the transfer function from the input here to the output is going to be An, which is the transfer function. Okay, so the way we find these k coefficients, we do not find K1, then K2, then K3, then K4. We start with the last and we come backwards. So the first step is to find Kn. The next step is to find Kn minus 1, Kn minus 2, and at the very end find K1. So this is called a degree reduction process. So going through the degree reduction process, we keep reducing. We know what, so here is the thing, we know what An is, because that's what is given to us. So my first goal is to reduce that degree to an minus 1, then an minus 2, and keep going backwards. So the very essence of computing these k coefficients is called a degree reduction process. So if I can keep reducing the degree of, so if I can find a n minus 1 and b n minus 1 from a n, well, b n is simply the reverse polynomial of a n. So if I can find that, then, then we can keep computing k's by keeping on. So from this I can get a n minus 2, then a2. From a2 I get a1. From a1 we get a0 is 1. a0 will be 1 by construction. All right. So that is the process. The process is to find, so our goal then is to find what is a degree reduction process. So, so the essence of designing lattice filter is to compute k coefficients in reverse order. So compute kn, then kn minus 1 all the way up to k1 by degree reduction process. And to understand degree reduction process, we have to compute I minus 1. How do we compute I minus 1 from AI? So that's really what we are trying to compute. So we know an, and I'm trying to compute an minus 1. That's the essence of degree reduction process. So I want to compute I minus 1. So I can say, okay, so I minus 1 is equal to AI plus KI. So take this term to the other side. KI. So, so what exactly are known when I'm trying to compute an minus 1? We do not know bn minus 1. We don't know that. In fact, we are trying to compute an minus 1 from an, and which is not shown here because we don't need that, but bn is simply the reverse polynomial of an. So, so ki is z to power minus 1 bi minus 1. But as I indicated, bi minus 1 is not known. All we know is an and bn, or in general, at the ith stage, I want to compute ai minus 1 using ai and bi. So that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to compute this from these two. Okay, so so I have to somehow make sure I do not use bi minus 1. Okay, well that's certainly possible to do. So I have another equation and I can substitute this quantity here. So this then becomes equal to ai plus ki times this quantity is bi plus ki ai minus 1. So now in fact we do not have, so we certainly, I have to do a little more algebra. So I can say ai minus 1, this ai minus 1, bring it to the left side, ki times ki is ki squared, so is equal to ai plus ki bi, and that then says ai minus 1 is ai plus ki bi by 1 minus ki squared. So that is our degree reduction process, and so we are done. So given an, I can find an minus 1 by using, keep reducing degree of this 1 by 1. Okay, so one other thing that I should say that K, what exactly is K coefficient? So the K coefficient, so let's take an example. So what I want to do, my goal, so AI, remember AI is, so AI is this quantity up to degree I. So that's A0 plus A1 z to power minus 1 plus AI z to power minus I. That's AI. Okay. And then KI, so BI is the reverse polynomial, which is going to be AI plus AI minus 1 z to power minus 1 plus A0 z to power minus I. So that's, and then multiply this by KI, because we have KI times BI. So these are all multiplied by KI. Okay, so I probably should have said one more thing, is that we have assumed that all these AIs, the constant coefficient is always 1. I should have said that initially, because if we have AN, the transfer function AN, so if there is a constant factor, we'll take that outside. So this is this A0, let's assume A0 is 1 all the time. So what is the goal? We add AI to K times BI, and when we add them, this becomes a degree I minus 1, means these two terms must cancel out. So if I assume with A0 equal to 1, AI must equal AI plus KI, KI equal to 0, means KI is equal to minus AI. So at every stage, the K coefficient is simply the negative of the leading coefficient. That's Ki. So if Ki, so with A0 equal to 1, Ki is minus Ai. So if I add this numerator, Ai plus Ki Bi, this disappears, the ith degree term is gone, and then we will indeed have a polynomial of degree I minus 1. So we are done. So that's essentially the derivations. So the derivation states keep reducing. So choose Ki as minus I and follow this process. Keep doing it and get all the K coefficients. So let me go through one example from the book, 6.9. Yeah. So I am following a slightly different notation, but if you want to use the book notation, that is fine. You will not see any difference in the final result. So in this example, we are given a third order FIR filter. A of Z is equal to 1 minus 0.9 Z to power minus 1 plus 0.64 Z to power minus 2 minus 0.576 Z to power minus 3. So what is the process of reducing the degree? So first, quickly, very quickly, I can see that K3 is going to be the negative of the leading coefficient is plus 0.576. Okay, that's how I get K3. The leading coefficient is minus 0.576, and then I can go through the degree reduction process. So we can say, let's call this A3G. Okay, so I can then compute A2 is A3 plus KB3 by 1 minus K3 squared. So A2Z is equal to A3 plus K3B3 by 1 minus K3 squared. So that is going to be 1 minus 0.9 z to power minus 1 plus 0.64 z to power minus 2 minus 0.576 z to power minus 3. That's A3 plus 0.576. So that's K3 times B3, the reverse polynomial. Reverse these coefficients. Minus 0.576 plus 0.64 z to power minus 1 minus 0.9 z to power minus 2 plus z to power minus 3, all divided by 1 minus 0.576 squared. Okay, so do you see that the one of the term was cancelled out or not? So minus 0.576 plus 0.576 times z to power minus 3 is cancelled out. So with a little algebra, you can show that A2 is 1 minus 0.795. I am not going through the calculations here, plus 0.1975 z to power minus 2. And from that, now that we know A2, K2 is the negative of the leading coefficient, minus 0.181975. And you keep then going through A1. So A1 will be A2 plus K2 B2 by 1 minus K2 squared, and that's equal to 1 minus 0.6726 z to power minus 1, and that tells you K1 is 0.6726, which is the negative of the leading coefficient. Okay, so so after going through all of that, we got K1, K2, K3, and we just substitute those values, and that's what the structure is. So K3 was 0.576, so these coefficients are minus K3, each is minus 0.576. These are minus K2 and K2, minus K2, K2 was minus 0.182, so they became plus. And finally, K1 is plus 0.6726, so they both became minus. And this is the direct form FIR filter, and this is the equivalent lattice FIR filter. Okay, so okay, given a lattice filter structure like this, you can get the direct form by undoing the degree reduction process. So you know K3, K2, you know all these Ks. So so keep going through the degree reduction process. So again, I should probably give you some homework problems to practice those things. But essentially, given lattice structure, how do you compute AN? How do you compute AN? So start with A0 equal to B0 equal to 1, and then okay, so start with A0 equal to, so you know the K coefficients. So this means K coefficients are given. So you start with, and then keep essentially using these two equations from A0 and B0 equal to 1, get A1, B1, because you know K1. So you can get A1, B1, then you know K2, you can get A2, B2. So use this formula to get direct form. Finally get Kn. So that's. So I just want to mention couple of other things before we stop today. So how do we design all pole filters? Let's say that I want the transfer function h of z is 1 over a n z. So in this example, there are feedback loops. So the one filter that we have been talking about is a feed forward filter. So this one has no feedback. The data keeps moving forward. So how do we get an IEIR filter? So in this case, the input is 1 and the output is polynomial an. Instead, in the IIR filter, the input polynomial will be an, and h of z is 1 over an, and so the output polynomial will be 1. So that the design will be in a way that the input polynomial, instead of starting with polynomial 1 and building that all the way to get to an, we start with the first polynomial as an, and then we get to 1 at the end. And the typical lattice stage for the feedback filter is going to look like this. So, so instead of feed forward, the data keeps going forward. So in this case, we will have inputs ai and bi minus 1, and the outputs will be, so the inputs, these are the inputs ai and bi minus 1, and the outputs will be ai minus 1 and bi. So we will compute these two from these two, and that's kind of so those equations are just the same. So let's go back. So what are we given here? We are given ai, so this is given, and bi minus 1. So these two are known. So how do I compute ai minus 1? ai minus 1 can be computed. Take this to the other side. Okay, so ai minus 1 is equal to ai plus ki z to power minus 1 bi minus 1. So, okay, so that's how we compute this output. Bi, we don't need to change anything. Bi is already in a form where we can compute using bi minus 1, using bi minus 1 and ai minus 1, which we just computed. So bi is equal to z to power minus 1 bi minus 1 minus ki ai minus 1. So the ai minus 1 can now be used to compute that. So let me just draw the block diagram of one lattice stage, IIR lattice stage. So we start with I, and we start with bi minus 1. Okay. All right. So so ai minus 1 is ai plus ki. So delay this z to power minus 1 and then multiply by ki, and that is ai minus 1. So ai minus 1 is ai plus ki times bi minus 1 times delay z to power minus 1. Bi is this z to power minus 1 times bi minus 1 minus ki times this quantity. So minus ki times that quantity. So this is a typical lattice stage, IIR all pole lattice stage, all pole. So the way this would work then, as I had initially mentioned, so we start with an, and the process of getting the k coefficients are all the same, and finally we put them together by, so we have an, and this is bn, which is nothing but the reverse polynomial an star. So remember in the FIR case, we had k1, k2 increasing to kn. So here we are going through the other way. So at the end of this, we will have k1, and This is A, so this is A n minus 1, B n minus 1. And this is A0 and this is B0. Remember A0 equal to B0 equal to 1. So the way we complete this structure, we feed this back. Feed that back, then we are done with all pole. So if this is the output Y, if this is output Y, this is input X. So YZ by XZ will be 1 over AN. And if this, I call this V, then VZ over XZ is going to be Bn over An. And remember, Bn is the reverse polynomial of An. So this will be an all pass if the numerator and denominator are in coefficients are in reverse order. Then if this is the input, this is the output, that will implement an all pass IIR filter. If I take the output here, that will be an all pole IIR filter. I'm not going to talk about the numerator part because they will be expanded out of this. We'll stop with this. This is basically how lattice filters are implemented. Okay, so I have gone through this quickly, but with some practice and homework, you should be able to understand more. So we will stop here today. See you next class. So those of you who want to turn in the homework today, that's fine. If not, turn them in by tomorrow in front of my office. I will place a box.
Yeah.